I'm Anna Sterling, Senior Correspondent at Humans Decoded. Today's confrontation lasted barely 10 minutes, yet its digital shockwave would topple careers, shutter a business, and ignite a global debate about power in the algorithm age. On a seemingly ordinary Tuesday, Karla B. Lab, a 27-year-old Bay Area micro-influencer with 15,000 TikTok followers, arrived at Kis Cafe, an upscale wine bar co-owned by James Beard award-winning chef Luke Sung. She expected a complimentary dinner for two, standard payment for an influencer promotion in the $32 billion creator economy. Instead, she claims Sung publicly dismissed her follower count as insignificant, declared her not at the level to represent his establishment, and insinuated her audience couldn't afford his cuisine. Karla filmed herself moments later, visibly shaking, voice cracking, tears streaking her makeup. "He looked through me," she recounted, the raw video viewed over 10 million times within 72 hours. She didn't initially name Sung or Kis Cafe. The internet needed no help. Digital detectives identified the restaurant within hours. What followed was a textbook case of 21st century digital immolation, coordinated one-star review bombing on Yelp, death threats laced with racism flooding the cafe's social media, Sung's summary firing as co-owner and chef, and the restaurant's abrupt temporary closure for restructuring. Karla's follower count? It exploded to 215,000 plus. This wasn't just bad PR, it was a primal scream echoing through the fault lines, separating old-world prestige from digital clout. The influencer's calculus: Karla operated within an established digital barter system. For micro-influencers, 10K, 50K followers, gifting, free products or services in exchange for promotion, is the lifeblood. Industry data shows micro-influencers deliver 60% higher engagement than macro counterparts, prized for niche audiences and perceived authenticity. Karla anticipated Kis Cafe, valuing her potential reach to local foodies. Her tears stemmed not just from rudeness, but from the professional annihilation of her digital worth. Her pivot to advocate for micro-influencers, you don't need a million followers to be respected, wasn't just catharsis, it was strategic framing that ignited collective identity. The chef's implied worldview: while Sung hasn't spoken publicly, his alleged words, "Do you know who I am?" referencing his James Beard Award, reveal a fortress built on traditional culinary hierarchy. His metric was pedigree, skill honed over decades, peer-reviewed accolades. A 15K follower TikTok account, in this paradigm, represented noise, not influence. His reported comment about her followers' affordability wasn't merely elitist, it was social status shaming, weaponizing class against digital credibility. The restaurant's panicked surrender. Kis Cafe's response was a masterclass in damage control under digital siege. Their Instagram statement, denouncing Sung's unacceptable behavior, severing all ties, closing for restructuring, was less about ethics than survival economics. The plea against racism and hate speech aimed at staff revealed the terrifying collateral damage. Online rage metastasizing beyond the original target into pure, unfiltered toxicity. Their actions proved a brutal truth. Traditional authority crumbles before viral tsunamis. The micro-to-macro paradox: Karla's initial micro-status was irrelevant. TikTok's algorithm, particularly potent for food content, boasting a 3% platform engagement rate, catapulted her raw emotion into global consciousness. This is the terrifying asymmetry of digital power. A single voice, amplified correctly, can dismantle institutions. Sung's James Beard Award meant nothing against 10 million views. The perceived cost-effectiveness of micro-influencer collaborations now carries an unquantifiable risk: potential annihilation. The fragile commodity of authenticity. Herein lies the core contradiction. Influencers sell authenticity, the relatable human connection. Karla's tears were powerful because they felt real. Yet the entire premise was commercial. A transaction, meal for promo, gone wrong. When the transaction failed, the authentic emotion became the fuel for virality and personal gain. 15K plus followers. This blurring, where genuine distress becomes strategic content, exposes the inherent fragility of authenticity in an economy built on its performance. Critics call it the empty calories of the internet, visually compelling, emotionally resonant, but often nutritionally void for tangible brand value. Violated contract, viral empathy. Karla's distress wasn't performative grief. It was the neurological response to a violated implicit social contract. Psychologists confirm public invalidation, like having your professional worth dismissed, triggers profound shame and stress responses. Her visible shaking and tears were potent catalysts for emotional contagion, transforming individual sympathy into collective digital rage among her audience. Sung, likely anchored in status quo bias, couldn't compute her digital currency. Karla, potentially exhibiting confirmation bias, expected automatic recognition of her influence. Neither saw the other's value system as legitimate. Weaponized morality and the shaming mob. Karla's framing as a David versus Goliath advocate for the disrespected micro-creator tapped directly into the online moralistic imagination. Her pain became proof of Sung's transgression against a perceived collective norm, respecting digital labor. This narrative, supercharged by emotional contagion, lowered online moral sensitivity. The result? A mob emboldened to unleash review bombing, characterized by Yelp research as short, angry, inflammatory posts focused on the controversy, not the food quality, a form of collective punishment divorced from proportionality. The collaboration gray zone. Formal influencer marketing has ethics, ad disclosures, authenticity pledges. Kis Cafe existed in the murky invite to collab void. Was it a firm contract or a casual exploration? This ethical vacuum for informal digital interactions is a tinderbox. Without clear norms, misunderstandings ignite wildfires. Disproportionate digital crucifixion. The alleged offense, rude refusal, and classist remarks. The digital sentence, career termination, business paralysis, and a torrent of hate speech. Online shaming operates as unchecked mob justice, swift, severe, lacking due process, appeal, or path to redemption. Kis Cafe's plea against racism highlights how digital outrage inevitably draws in innocent bystanders, becoming a social tyranny far exceeding the original crime. Is Chef Sung's lifetime of culinary achievement truly erased by one bad interaction, amplified to global condemnation? Does Karla bear responsibility for unleashing forces she couldn't control? What is value now? The clash forces a brutal question. Does Luke Sung's mastery of flavor, technique, and ingredient alchemy, honored by the culinary establishment, hold more societal value than Karla's ability to engage 15,000, now 215,000 people online? The influencer economy's $32 billion valuation screams yes to the market, prioritizing quantifiable reach over intangible mastery. We risk becoming a society of quantified selves, where follower counts and engagement rates eclipse craftsmanship, wisdom, or ethical depth. How do we define human worth when algorithms mediate our influence? The malleability of digital truth. Karla's tearful narrative became the dominant truth for millions. Nuance evaporated. Review bombers, most of whom never set foot in Kis Cafe, constructed their own truth based on outrage. Digital information is infinitely malleable and reproducible. Emotion trumps evidence. Resonance overrides rigor. Our perception of reality is increasingly a personalized simulation, curated by feeds and algorithms. Did the truth of that night matter, or only the version that spread fastest and hit hardest? Identity's digital fragility. Karla meticulously built her identity as a relatable foodie creator. Sung built his on Michelin-level skill. Both identities proved terrifyingly fragile. One viral video can dismantle decades of reputation. Online identity is now a curated performance constantly vulnerable to deconstruction by the crowd. We must redefine what self even means when our digital avatars wield such power and face such peril. The doors of Kis Cafe remain closed. Luke Sung's culinary future is uncertain. Karla navigates her newfound macro influence, but the firestorm they ignited burns hotter than ever, forcing urgent questions upon all digital citizens. 1. Power and value. When does democratized digital power become destructive mob force? How do we reconcile traditional merit with digital metrics? 2. Ethics and justice. What ethical frameworks can govern the gray zones of digital interaction? How do we ensure online accountability respects proportionality and due process? 3. Authenticity and responsibility. Can authenticity survive its commodification? What responsibility do creators bear for the unintended consequences of their viral narratives? 4. Truth and identity. How do we discern truth in an ocean of malleable, emotionally charged narratives? How do we anchor our sense of self when digital identity is so fluid and fragile? The Karla confrontation is not an anomaly. It's a prototype for conflict in our hyper-connected age. It reveals not just who we are online, but the profound, often unsettling ways the digital crucible is reshaping human worth, truth, and power itself. The code is being written in real time. Decoding its full impact is the challenge of our generation.